Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. You're always most welcome, but this time to Peter Goes Rogue, my new and interesting, I hope, YouTube video channel. Now, whilst I have been on YouTube for the last 10 years now, I've been on YouTube, which has gone quite quickly actually, surprisingly. But I've been, of course, doing my YouTube channel, which is Peter Oxley Modelling Lab, and I sit here and present kits, I do reviews, also talks about, you know, techniques and things, or general chat about new products and things. The things that keep most of us interested, I hope. But I've actually now got to 10 years, as I mentioned, but I've got to 900 videos on that channel. And it's kind of partly as a celebration of that I thought I wanted to do something different that was expanding out of models. And as I've explained before, nothing is changing on the existing channel. That continues exactly, completely undisturbed, and we just start a new channel here with new subjects, new themes, completely new approach. Well, almost. You probably think it's not that new. You sit in the same place you always sit. There's a reason for that, though, as I want to explain something. So all these videos, 900 videos I've made, over 850 of them have been sitting right in this spot where they always start and always end. But over that time, there has been a great truth, a great secret has been withheld from you. And it's not just you, the viewers on YouTube. It's a secret that it's something that I have, a very good friend of mine, I'm going to introduce you to. It's not my wife. She refuses to come on camera. Another very good friend of mine that I've known for, well, 8 years. And I mentioned it was kept a secret. It was actually something I didn't even disclose or share with my own family for many years, for about 5.5, 6 years, something like that. Reasons I'll explain later, but not just a particular reason to do with my family. I just didn't share it with anybody at all. It's a little bit, time has passed now, and I thought that probably this was perhaps a good moment to talk about it, and I think it'd be a very interesting subject for you to see and to hear about, and to actually, I think it will sort of tune in with, or tune itself into people's interest that are perhaps not modelers. And I do get quite a lot of non-modelling people on my channel, on my modelling channel, that come on and say, I'm not really into models, but I do enjoy watching your presentation, find it quite entertaining, or, you know, I can put it on the longer ones people seem to enjoy. They put them on in the background when they're doing things like modelling or other hobbies, or washing the car or mowing the lawn, whatever. Because some of my stuff can be treated a bit like a podcast. Some of it's quite visual, some of it isn't. Especially if I do a talk, or, you know, like a tribute Sharky War and things like that, or a history talk. So, and it's those kind of things that you'll see more of on this channel, those the latter. Anyway, so I've had this secret, and I thought it was time I came out. What am I saying? That may not be wise. I may regret this later, but anyway, I think I'll be fine. Something I wanted to share with you, and do a few perhaps shorter videos, perhaps half an hour or thereabouts videos, in different sort of bite sizes, to talk about the subject I'm going to introduce you to today, about my other friend. Are you ready for this? I'm going to introduce you to my friend right now, something you've never seen before, and the important part of the story is simply this. This friend of mine has been sitting behind me in every single video I've filmed on YouTube since Christmas not long ago, Christmas 2017. So what's that now? That's 8 years, isn't it? Almost 8 years. Let me introduce you to my very good friend, the one and only Porsche 981. It's my sports car, something I've never talked about before, never disclosed before. If I could have hidden this from the neighbours and kept it private, I would have done so. It's just the way I am, really. I have a couple of you that are watching this, a very select few. I think there is literally a couple of you, probably 3 of you, that know about this. And again, sworn to secrecy, because I just didn't want to make a big song and dance about it, and just not my way, really. But it's my sports car. So what we have here, and this is going to be where you can see already the channel is morphing immediately into something different. We're going all sort of Clarkson or Harry's Garage or something, aren't we here? Anyway, let me show you what we've got here. I'm going to open the door and we're going to step outside and look back in. I'll have to shut the door after that because the light will just become a problem. So let's have another look. Just bear with me a second and we'll have a proper look at this. It's going to go very bright, I warn you. I'll get some more light on it. Here we go. So this is what we got. I've actually opened the frunk, or the boot at the front, trunk if you will, because if I open those separately, we're going to have a major problem because it triggers the electrics, and what we have then is we get this, the dash cam likes to talk. It talks a lot. It's like an MG Maestro. Any of you from the UK will probably know what I'm talking about. Had this computerized voice. So what we've got, this is a two-seater sports car. It is powered by an engine which is located in the centre of the car. It's mid-engined. Just get this. I'm just going to have to bring that door down. It's too bright. We'll get better quality photography, I think, if I do it like this. Just bear with me. Sorry about the noise. Okay, there we go. We're back to quiet now. So it's a two-seater sports car. I'm just going to go in through the window here, give you an idea what it's basically like inside. So now the thing is, it's not. If you're not familiar with these cars, Porsche are a very interesting brand. Some people think they're very expensive, but I don't think they are, in actual fact, because if it was that expensive, I certainly wouldn't be able to afford one myself. They're actually relatively affordable cars, but that is a relative word, of course, and I'll tell you about the way this was purchased, which was a little bit unusual. It's in GT silver, that's the colour here, and it's got titanium painted wheels from the factory as an optional extra. It doesn't have carbon brakes. I wouldn't give them house room, to be honest. Carbon brakes are exclusively for use on tracks. Trust me, they squeal. They never work very well on the road, and I don't really do track days, although I'll come to that later as well. So, what we've got... Whoops, going the wrong way. I know you're all nosing in the background, looking at things on the wall, etc. But what we've got essentially is a two-seater sports car, very high performance. Now this is actually, come back to me for a second, this is actually a car that's not brand new, it's from 2016. So it's actually 9 years old, but here's the thing. Me being me, I am not your regular sort of sports car driver, everyday sports car type of chap. I think it's the OCD modelling element of my character makes me want to preserve it a lot, actually. So I probably don't get as much enjoyment out of it as I should, in truth. But there's a couple of things that are very special about this car. So it's 9 years old, and it's got 18,000 miles only on the clock, which is low. So your average car at this mileage will be touching certainly between 75 and 100,000 miles if it was a daily driver type of car, which it actually is. This is a car that can actually be driven to, you could drive it every day, go to work in it, you could use it for commuting, whatever you like. It's a very user-friendly all-weather type of car. But for me, it's something that I really cherish. I treat it like a classic car, to be quite honest with you. Looking at the brakes on the side there. A couple of interesting things. Unfortunately, it's upside down, but can you see the Porsche crest that's here on the actual wheel, the wheel centre cover? Well, it's actually pointing up at the tyre valve. Now, why is that worthy of mention? Because you probably won't know this, but I'm a member of the Porsche GB club. There we go. I've got a sticker on here. And they are notoriously have a big beef about this, where they say, they'll look at your car and they'll actually make some quite unpleasant comments. If you don't have your crests pointing at the tyre valve, they get very excited about it and think you are a Philistine. It's true, I'm not making it up. And if you go in for concourse competitions, they'll mark you down for it, would you believe? So that you think I'm OCD? No, I'm quite normal really compared to some of these guys. Anyway, let's have another look at this. So looking in from the driver's side, so I'm going straight to the window here because by not opening the doors, I can avoid the constant talking of the dash cam system. So here we've got it's a PDK gearbox, so it's a double clutch gearbox. The important stats about this car really are to do with its engine, and obviously it's got it's mid-engine, so you won't perhaps appreciate this, but the engine sits beneath that where that netting is. So it's right behind the seat of the driver. This is the GTS model, so it's got lots of options. I don't know if you can make this out, but we've got carbon fibre everywhere, which is an option. Got carbon fibre on the doors, on parts of the dash, and it's got trim. It's got Alcantara optional trim as well. So you can see that on the seats we've got leather surrounds, and it's got Alcantara as the actual the main centre of the bolster of the seats. Moving around the back. We've got much bigger wheels at the back, of course, and we've got 20-inch wheels all round, by the way. Haven't told you the most important part, really, which is the basic specs, which I've kind of forgotten. So, it's a 3.4 litre 6-cylinder engine, so it's quite a big engine for a little sports car. It's a big engine, yeah, and it develops 340 horsepower. But this car is light. Yeah, it's not the biggest horsepower you'll ever hear of in a modern engine because, as I say, it's 9 years old. But it's very light. It's only 1,370 kilos. Now, for a car like this, the double clutch gearbox, that is not heavy. And compared to most modern cars, that's light. That is proper light. And it's got all the safety functions, airbags and all manner of, cut-off switches, etc., crash structures built into it. So it's a very modern car, and the latest version of this car, which came out in 2017, I think it was, the 718 model, initially disappointed people because it had got, they changed the engine from this flat 6 boxer engine, which makes the most glorious noise, and we'll get into that in another episode. And they went for a 2.5 litre turbo engine, and I've driven them, and it's just not the same. It just doesn't sound the same. So you have this wonderful sports exhaust here. You see the rear wing, which by the way, it's an extendable rear wing. It's not fixed. Whoops. Try to get that down a bit. Here we go. Got your extendable rear wing. It's in the up position at the moment, just to demonstrate it for your interest, really. That comes up and down at around, I think it goes up at 75 miles an hour, and it drops down, I think, when you get down to 70. But it's also manually extendable, which is why it's up now. And therefore you can't get in trouble with the police because it can be put up at 5 miles an hour. It's not a problem, Then down here we have got, I can just get the camera to point in the right direction. A little bit of camera trouble. There we go. We've got the Porsche Sports exhaust, and this is a very interesting thing indeed. Part of the wonderful elements of this car is the exhaust. It's got these opening flaps which generate the full-on sound and gives you basically pops and crackles, and genuine ones. They're not artificially enhanced by electronics or any nonsense like that. On the overrun, as you are changing down, for example, it will burn exhaust up the system, and you get the most fantastic race car kind of sound, So, and again, we'll get into that at a later stage, a later date. I'll take it out for a spin, and you'll hear this for yourselves. So it absolutely sounds absolutely glorious. So I'm just getting my camera to cooperate with me. There we go. So it sounds absolutely amazing, to be honest, and one of the great attractions of the car. And this was the problem when they introduced the new model. I took this in for a service at Porsche Chester, and they gave me a 718. So, look at this, it's the latest one, you're going to want it. Well, it was marginally quicker, but it just didn't feel the same car at all. It felt so anaesthetised and dulled down somehow, and it just didn't feel involving to drive. It was too quiet, and it had this Subaru sort of sound, sort of note to the sound of the engine. And by the way, the reason I'm wearing gloves will become clear in a couple of minutes. I'm going to handle something that may not be very clean, so to do with the car, so I'll explain that later. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wearing them. So, the new model has been a bit of a disaster. So much so, and this is the reason I actually bought the car, because it was introduced, and immediately all the motoring journalists were saying, they've made a big mistake, Porsche. They've dropped this flat, amazing engine that they've got in all the 911s. They've dropped it in favour of this little four-cylinder. It's not a Porsche anymore. It's not the same. And the values of these started to really ramp up. So I jumped in and purchased this just at the right moment. And this only had 7,000 miles on the clock when I bought it. It was 18 months old, just under, I think. And sure enough, and then after about a year, and this was actually going up, and it was actually, there was one point where it was 4,000 or 5,000 more than I paid for it, which can happen with Porsche. So we'll talk about that separately. Excuse me. These are interesting cars beyond the performance and all the rest of it and all the headline stuff. They're very interesting cars because you can purchase some of these Porsche vehicles and they will either hold their value or actually appreciate in value, which is not normal with a lot of cars. Now at the moment, and this is one of the reasons I thought I'd talk about it really, because I've kept this quiet now for 8 years. But they are going up in value again. And there is a situation where because of the move to electric vehicles, I'll spin you around. Because of the move to electric vehicles, these things are suddenly becoming super desirable. And Porsche announced a couple of weeks ago, very unwisely in my view, that they were going to drop the Cayman and the Boxster, which is this chassis platform, which has obviously got the flat six engine and this shape. They're going to drop it, and they're going to, instead, they are saying they are going to have an electric sports car. Now, I don't know about you, but the idea that you can have a Porsche electric sports car, which would just be like a Chinese thing, really, if you think about it, it's crazy, and it's suicide for this brand, for this company. And everybody else pretty much seems to think the same thing, and there's been universal condemnation. Not quite as strong as the Jaguar advertising campaign, but not far off. People are saying, "Are you crazy? You know, you're going to lose all your customers. Don't you know who your customers are?" The customers for these cars are enthusiasts like me and you, potentially. They're not people, they're people that want engineering, something very perfect and beautiful engineering that goes well and everything works and it makes you feel fantastic. You're not going to get that from some electric Chinese made thing that's got a Porsche badge on it. Anyway, I mentioned that because they've just also announced this week, so this is 10 days later, they've now announced they're going to hold fire with this. The second vehicle is going to be I think it's a Macan replacement, like an SUV, electric. They're going to drop that idea because of lack of demand. Well, it's no wonder, is it? We'll talk about this later. Anyway, I'll spin you back round. So, let's have a look inside. So, one of the things that attracted me to this car, as against the 911, and I've driven several 911s. I've been at the Porsche Experience Centre at Silverstone. I've driven twice. I've been on their courses. So I've driven quite a number of them. All the GT3, GT3 RS, you name it. GT2 even, I think I drove GT2 as well. And I love them, but I wouldn't want them on the road because they're just a bit twitchy and they're a bit heavier and they are a bit thirstier and they don't have much room. Compared to this. Now, all right, this doesn't have any back seats, but you've got all this extra load area, which on the 911, of course, has your engine sitting here, which isn't really in the right place. Over here, we've got this is where you access your water, topping up the coolant, I should say. Coolant top-up goes in there. And over here, we have got where you top up your oil. One small thing I don't like about this car, which I've almost forgotten, I'll talk about dislikes later, but one thing I don't like, it doesn't have a dipstick. It's got one of these electronic dipsticks. And you've got to be on level ground, and the oil's got to be at a certain temperature, and the engine's got to be running for so long. So you have to start your engine when you don't really know how much oil you've got in it. Now, in a newish car that's maintained like this is, and this particular vehicle is completely dealer maintained from new, no shortcuts. It's all been done by Porsche Chester, in fact, though it's supplied over in Sheffield. It's not going to be an issue, but for older ones that you might come across and might be tempted to buy, just be a bit wary. Make sure it's got the right provenance in terms of the dealer servicing history. If it's over 10 years old, then the warranty how can I explain this? there's a warranty of 3 years and you can keep extending it for 2 years, which I kept on doing. And in the end, the service manager said to me, who was leaving, actually he got promoted to become, sorry, he was a deputy service manager, he became service manager at Lexus over in Liverpool. And he said, if I were you, I wouldn't keep paying out for this warranty. He said, especially the way you drive this car. Not very often. I mean, we've seen the condition, it looks brand new. It looks like it's in a showroom. We'll have a closer look in a second. And he said, just save it. Put your money away and stop paying for the warranty. He said, because I don't think you're going to need it. He said, and if you've saved up and you've got £6,000, because it was coming out to £1,100 for 2 years. Yeah. And this was, I had a service, which I'll talk about later, where I had a major service, I had a warranty renewal. To do that, though, they have to do a 111-point car check, which they charge you £175 for. Not trying to put you off, I'll explain the context of all this later. But then, and also, there was a recovery, so I ended up with a bill of £2,950. Anyway, that sounds bad, and it is, but it's exceptional. I'll explain it all later. Anyway, I'm going to flip you back around. So, what you got here, obviously you've got a really good load area where you can get squashy bags, are no problem at all. You can get them all in there. We also went on holiday for a whole week in Scotland, the Lake District, and we stayed in a different hotel every night, which logistically was a bit of a nightmare, but it wasn't with the car. The car swallowed up everything. Walking boots and Macs, and we had squishy bags. There's plenty of room there for squishy bags. There's also these compartments, and if you can just make them out, if I just flip around here. There's these little compartments that have got like a sliding cover where you can put bottles of water and things. You've got a good glove box, you've got lots of spaces internally. There's actually a power socket. This has actually got the smoker's pack, which is, that sounds bad, I know. And when I heard this and I said, oh no, I don't want the car, I'm not having anything that's been a smoker, you know. Now I know you know I have an occasional cigar, but it really is, you know. I have like sort of 7 or 8 cigars a year, okay, and I never have it in a vehicle. I wouldn't smoke in a car ever. The worst thing you can do, it's horrible. And the dealership said, no. He said, the owner that bought this is a regular customer of ours, and he had a 911. Now he traded it back in for another 911, because I think the GT3 RS came out, or some higher model. So he suddenly traded this back in, even though he liked the car. And he said he just got that smoker's pack because it's got a power point in it, and it was for his for charging his. Yeah, he had a laptop or a BlackBerry or something. He wanted to charge it, you know, maybe it was an iPhone. But of course, you get this extra vital power charging point, which you don't normally get. But anyway, back to the main story. So it's not been smoked in, and I could tell straight away. I got in the car and I was like, and you could tell there was nothing, it just smelled like a new car. And it still does, in fact. I've only got the windows open, so I don't have to keep opening the doors. Anyway, I'll spin you back round. So, you've got, you can see here, you've got some very interesting things like, for example, we have got the cup holders here. If I can just get this to work. Watch this. I think I made a mess of that. Let's try again. I didn't do that very well. I've got the camera. It's my camera was at fault. Right, here we go. Cup holders. We have a cup holder. Aren't these clever? And your cup goes in there. Pop your cup in. Want to put it back. Now, this design was on the 911 as well. One of the most brilliant designs of all time. That does clash with my little phone holder. One of the cleverest cup holder designs ever in terms of packaging. It just flicks back and it's gone. Now, is that smart or what? That was really, I saw that and thought, that is brilliant engineering, absolutely epic. And they've dropped this now on the new models. The new models are not as good, trust me on this. So they dropped the model, they dropped the cup holders. They've now got them, even in the 911, things like the GT3 RS. They've got this horrible cup holder that's just a recess, like something from the 1990s, right at the back of where your gear change hand goes. So you can't have a cup of coffee or anything, you know, Coke or anything there. You'll knock it flat. Just stupid and completely mad bad design. And that, what you've just seen, is as good as it gets. And that was another of the attractions, because you could have cup holders. Sorry, just moving this. You could have cup holders that you didn't even know you've got. You know, unless it's pointed out to you, you wouldn't even spot that. Very, very clever design, and it's like that throughout. There's lots of little cute engineering touches, you know. Right, let me just spin you around again, and we'll have a look in the luggage compartment at the front. So Sorry if the camera works a bit rubbish. I'm still learning with this new camera. Let's have a look at this now. So you can see here we have got this cavernous luggage area which swallows 2 full-size suitcases. In fact, we've got tailored suitcases that enable us to go one at the front, one at the back, full width, and there's like a smaller one on top which is like a wedge shape, like the shape of the car, slightly triangular wedge. And that means that it completely fills the entire void with luggage. Here, underneath this cover here is actually where your fuel tank is. So the fuel tank's between the luggage and the driver compartment, and then you've got your water refiller there, and then obviously the top of the suspension. You can also see here we've got our C-Tech charger, or umbilical cord as I call it, on life support, because I don't do very many miles, as you know. And whoops. And you can see the charger down here. It's not the latest model, but it does very nicely indeed for this car. Keeps the battery in absolute first-class condition. So just gently pop that down. I'm not going to shut it all the way. Now, here's the other thing that's very unusual about this car. I'll pop this down and I'll just show you some of the bodywork. I say unusual about this particular example. So, here's the bodywork, okay? I think you can see, some of you will probably smile at this and think, knowing me, you're probably not that surprised, you know? So it's been well looked after. That's an understatement. But I had a little bit of an advantage. Because if I were to tell you, oh, by the way, I should explain about it, it's got these xenon lights, which are like pencil beams that cut through in the dark. It's got intercoolers, intercooler for the oil at the front, as well as a big radiator, and there's another intake for the air conditioning. And it's, I say, it's got this switchable sports exhaust. We've got the switchable rear wing. All of these things are controlled. If I go in, just zooming back in again. All controlled from these switches here. And you've got 3 driving modes, 7-speed gearbox, which is seamless in its operation. Absolutely amazing, to be quite honest. And yeah, it's something else. Let me just, I'm just going to pop the key in for a second so you can see the dashboard, because I think you might find that quite entertaining. Oh, the music's on. Classic FM. So it's come up with Cayman GTS. 18,500 miles on the clock, as you can see. And we're having a bit of classical music. Sorry about that. It's nice, isn't it? You've got a central armrest compartment here. If I can just reach it. In fact, I can't reach it, so I'm going to open the actual door. Let you see inside the door while we're at it. Central armrest here, which also has another power point in it, so you've got plenty of power points in this car. And again, it's got the Alcantara suede on the top. And I'm going to just to get the music off. This is when it starts talking to us now, better warn you, it'll be chipping away in the background. Here it shuts, it's got this really solid sort of sound to it. And this is up the intake, which goes straight into the engine. So your engine is basically just there. So basically the way the car's set up, you've got the fuel tank is here, and you've got the passenger compartment, then you've got your engine, and then you've got your rear passenger luggage compartment, of course. And yeah, it's quite an amazing thing, really. So it's something that we probably need to, I think we'll talk about this some more in another episode. I'm going to sit down in the next episode and just talk you through what it actually costs, running costs, because that's the thing that'll probably raise most concern, or maybe get the eyebrows going a little bit, you know. Just get the camera to track me properly. There we go. It's quite a machine, and we need to talk about the sort of. It's a good time to consider buying one of these. Now, it doesn't have to be the Cayman like mine. The Boxster is absolutely just as good. But if anything, depending on what sort of driving you do, I went for this because I thought it was the one that will be the most durable version without the folding opening roof. And of course that means that you don't get all the dust in it and stuff like that. It's not a problem if you keep it with a cover. This has a cover over it during the winter months anyway. And I don't drive it during those months when there's any sort of salt on the road at all. I won't go near. Last year, this is going to shock you. Last year in the last 12 months, I did 854 miles in this car. Not a lot, but those 854 miles I thoroughly enjoyed. Absolutely enjoyed every minute of it. But it was because of the weather. I took it off the road mid-October, and it didn't come back on the road until first week in April. Now, it's on the life support, and this is a well-serviced car. If I show you underneath the car, it's absolutely like mint. Even things like the suspension and the drive shafts, even, it all look like new. Everything, the brakes, you can probably see that really. I'll just show you down here. Even the brakes, everything is like a new pin. It's a remarkable machine. So there you go. That is quite a nice vehicle. I'm very, very lucky to own it. I've had it now, say 8 years, just coming up to 8 years, and it will be 10 years old next year. I say 8 years, it's 8.5, isn't it, actually? 8.5 years I've owned it for, and it's coming up to its 10th birthday next Easter. And it's likely to be, it's going to be about 19,000 miles on the clock by then, I expect. 19,000, so it's done 1,900 miles per year average. But the reality is it's done less than that in my ownership because I have been doing a lot less. The first owner did 7 in a year, and then I did, so in 18 months I did 7.5, and in the remaining 8.5 years I'll have done another 12,000, basically, just under 12,000. So it's very low mileage, very pampered machine. Anyway, that's the Cayman 981, but we'll see more of this in the near future. Now, in the second episode, which I'm going to call this to a halt now, you've had the sort of shock and awe of seeing it. The real shock and awe comes when you see me driving it. But I've got a beautiful book here, which is Porsche's official book on the 981 Cayman, all the models. We'll go have a little flick through that. We're going to talk about the background, a bit of a history for you about the ownership. I was going to do this all in one show, but it's just be too much. So I'm going to talk about, the figures and the performance and all that kind of thing. I'll give you a little bit of a flavour now, though. So, ready for this? So what can it do? Because it obviously it can be expensive, but trust me, it's not as expensive as you think it is to run one of these. I'll explain it in more detail. But just a quick headline, it's got a maximum speed, this car, of 177 miles an hour. And it can do 0 to 60. This is with the PDK gearbox in launch control, where you blast off from a standing start, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. It is fast. It's not quite technically a supercar, obviously. It's a sports car, but it's very close to supercar territory, really. And it's amazing, because I drive it and I think, oh my God, it's very hard to understand how people would ever want more performance than this car can deliver. I don't. Going below 4 seconds, I just don't think you'd ever need to, really. Now, I just importantly mention this. At one of the services, last year in fact, 12 months ago, I was loaned a Porsche Taycan, the electric car. Absolutely ridiculous machine. The performance was terrifying. But it was terrifying because it was very hard to judge it well, how fast you were going. You didn't have the noise that a normal car with this wonderful sound that you'll appreciate later on this one gives you. So it was very hard to actually decide it, and it made it quite a bit scary, to be honest. And it was so over the top. That's 600 horsepower, this car. Absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, this has got more than enough. So this one's got 340 brake horsepower. It's got a maximum torque of 380 newton meters. It pulls really well, We've got the switchable sports exhaust. The engine size 3.436 litres, and it weighs 1370. They said there's a mistake made actually in some of the documentation. It's 1375 if you have the manual, but it's only 1370 if you have the PDK. Weirdly, it is actually 5 kilos lighter than the manual, which you wouldn't expect. But it's quite a machine. Quite a machine. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits there. I've whetted your appetite enough. The next episode will be a short one. We're going to talk about the history and the costs and what to expect. My experiences of the dealerships and whether you should consider something like this for yourself. I will go into more detail about the ownership and how I bought it and stuff like that. I'm not advocating people run out and spend silly money on cars. I've got a friend actually who's quite interested in having something similar. My former boss in one of my companies I worked for, he actually saw this and immediately ran out and bought the Spider version within 2 or 3 weeks, which I thought was quite funny. Same colour as well. But the thing is, they are quite sensible cars. If you can afford the maintenance, you gain it later because these cars don't devalue like normal cars do. They do hold their value very, very well because they're solid, reliable generally, touching the wood here. Reliable, very, very well made, and they are extremely desirable, and they are becoming more desirable because of this new push for EVs. And the more they talk about, oh, we're going to drop the Cayman and the Boxster, the more people want them. It's like, oh, no, don't do that. And the prices rise. And this is what I'm saying. If you want to buy something like this, this is a good time for me to talk about it. And one of the reasons I thought I'd break cover and come out of the closet finally and confess my sins to the Inquisition. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I've never owned any car longer than this. I've had it for 8 years, 8.5 years. Almost. It's like 8, just coming up to 8. I've never regretted it for a moment. There's been moments when I thought, did I do the right thing? But I've never seriously questioned my purchase. And here's the one final factor I didn't tell you about, which I should tell you in this intro video. You're probably thinking, well, I'll just spin you around rather than just looking at me. You're probably thinking, well, how does he keep it that clean and stuff? You're going to be amazed when I tell you the next final part, which is this. This car hasn't actually been washed since, I think it was April. I think I last washed it in April. Now, even keeping it in the garage without a cover on, it would get grimmer than that. You know, you'd be thinking, that's rubbish, that can't be true. Can it? See my diffuser at the back? Diffuser. Yeah. Very nice. So here's my secret. I only wash the car about every 15 months. And I am not fibbing. I wash the car every 15 months or thereabouts. 15 to 18 months. I don't need to wash it because it's got paint protection film on the whole car. The whole of the bodywork has got paint protection film on it. You're thinking, what? What? Run that by me again. Have a look. Have a close look. You won't see it. You won't see it. So, what that, in real terms and practical terms, what that actually means is that you can go out, as I do. Now, I'm very much with my OCD, I'm very much a fair weather motorist. You know, I treat it, as I say, like a classic car. So it's been out in the rain twice when I've been caught out by a shower. But it's never been driven in bad weather, muddy roads, salty roads, ever in my ownership in those 8 years. Excuse me. But because of the PPF on the entire car, it means you can approach your washing of the car in a completely different way. So what I do is, you saw that I had some, I had some cloths here. Yeah, microfiber cloths. Whoops. Camera in the right place, that would help. Yeah, here's my microfiber cloth. So all I do is I get my microfiber cloths and I use this product here. Quick Detailer from Maguire's. And I literally just spray it on the cloth and then I wipe it down. Now, it really is effective because what actually happens is, you know, you wipe, and it comes up, it's clean now, of course, but it comes up absolutely blackened. I mean, this, even from just the mild run in the country, just for 45 minutes, an hour. I generally take it out for about an hour because you really need to, especially when you're not doing a lot of miles, it's important that when you do go out, you don't do short journeys because that's extremely bad for both the engine and the gearbox, to be quite honest with you. So I wipe it down, and these cloths come out, and they come up black because they just pick up all the grime, but it leaves them absolutely immaculate, and it doesn't get scratched, even when it gets hit by big insects and birds and things. It's talking again. Yes, thank you. But it has this self-healing film, and out in the sun, it morphs back into its original form, so it gets a scratch in it as long as it's not actually pierced. But any mild scratching, it just morphs away, and if you put hot water on it, it does the same effect. So it has this self-healing film. It's actually by a company called Suntech. Others are available, by the way, and they're all quite similar now as well, this self-healing PPF film. Now that's not cheap though. So here's the thing, when I bought this car, I won't tell you how much I paid for it, I'd rather not tell you that, but it was a lot. But when I bought it, I had to take it straight in the week after to be done by a local firm in Stoke-on-Trent, and it was £4,500 to have this film put on, which is a lot of money. But here we are 8 years later, and look at the condition it's in. It has been worth every penny. It's super low maintenance, so that means I'm only washing the car every, so in that 8 years, it's probably only been washed 5 or 6 times, if that, with, spraying water around underneath and all the rest of it. Underneath, the time I did get caught in the rain, that actually washed it off very nicely. Some absolutely fresh rain. I was very lucky when the roads were all clean in the summer, it was. And consequently, when you look underneath, you look at the suspension arms, everything is like new. It's just incredible. You take the wheels off, all the control rods and the track rods and everything, like new. You can literally do that, and I do clean them down, a bit OCD, as I say. It's not a regular thing. Every 2-3 years I'll clean the wheels down on the interior sides, but they just don't get nasty. And that £4,500, which is a lot of money, obviously I appreciate, but I wouldn't do it any other way. If you've got a prestige car, something like this, or an Aston Martin, or even more expensive stuff like Lamborghinis or Ferraris, I wouldn't own one without having PPF on it, because trust me, from my experience, it is worth it. It is worth it. You'll pay out a lot more money if you don't, and get stone road rash all over it. It costs an absolute fortune to get that resprayed and done properly. It's a nightmare. It can lead to all sorts of other problems. But anyway, so not having it washed and doing it this way, which works perfectly, and I go in every nook and cranny, it's absolutely, and I do this every time I drive the car, which takes about an hour to 90 minutes. So it's cleaned down completely, and there's no crud left anywhere. And we go into the crevices with a little brush, and like James May, But it's worth it, because it means that you're not getting water in the car, you're not adding any corrosion opportunities into it at all. So it's like a new car. It's brilliant. Anyway, sound like I'm boasting. That's not what I'm trying to do. Just trying to give you an idea, a perspective of how to look after it, really. And if you can have a car like this where you garage it, I mean, if you can't garage a car, I wouldn't have the Boxster personally. And I would certainly think that sometimes I wonder if I should have had the Boxster, because you hear more when you've got the open top. But I always feel that they lose a little bit of value compared to these, because they're obviously not quite as stiff because they haven't got a roof. And there's a lot of other issues with drainage and things like that. There's other things, extra things can go wrong, and you've got electric. It's heavier because you've got the electric motors for the roof mechanism and all that stuff. This body shell, the coupe body shell, is actually the better bet, I think. That was my opinion anyway. But there's no reason I couldn't have enjoyed a Boxster. Looking after it the way I do, I don't think it would have made any difference, really. Not really. But I wouldn't probably have a Boxster if I had to have it outside all the time. Because the roofs always get wrecked, and they get muck on them, and bird muck and all sorts of other problems with moss, and so they soon discolour. Not a problem here, obviously. So, give you one last quick look before I disappear. There we go. There we have it. So that's the Porsche Cayman 981. 981 generation is the best sounding one. Not only did we have the issue I mentioned with the new one, the 718, where there was this change of engine. There was an outcry in 2018, 2019 And they realised they'd made a mistake, I think, Porsche. And they went back, so they introduced the GTS, the latest GTS version. And they brought it in with a 4-litre engine that was 6-cylinder again. So this engine but bored out slightly. And that has met with great approval from everybody. But people that bought them have all said it's a fantastic car. It's the sweet spot of the current generation. But it still doesn't sound as good as this one. And the reason is, of course, the EU brought in these petrol particulate filters, which by law they had to have fitted. It just strangles the sound and it just muffles it a bit. This is completely a raw. This is, again, you haven't seen it yet or heard it in action, but you will. And when you hear the noise it makes, it's this dirty, brutal noise. And one of my friends actually compared it. He said after a ride in it, a white knuckle ride, yeah. He said it's less like being in a sports car. It's more like being in a fighter jet. It's quite something, trust me. And the one final thing I would say at this point for a close on this episode is that things like be quiet. Every time you shut anything, it triggers it off. Now you know I didn't have the doors open at the beginning. The brakes on this car, they keep checking the brakes at the service. They go, the pads seem to be like new, and I don't understand it because I think they did do a one pad change just because I think the age over time. So I think they changed the pad at 4 years, and they keep saying I don't understand it. The pads are not wearing. You've not got any lipping on your brake disc. And they say, how do you drive this car? I don't understand. Have you had it done anywhere else? No, not at all. But I have a very... I used to do go-kart racing. I've done track days and things, not in this car, but in other cars. Quite a lot of motor racing experience, but I don't drive like that on the road at all. Quite the opposite. I tend to lift and coast, especially in this car, because I want to preserve it. I don't want to be hard on it, you know. I'm probably not going to be able to afford another one. So I tend to be very gentle, so I tend to come off the throttle early and I'll change down a gear and then I'll let the revs drop and I'll change down another gear. And I'll do all this much earlier than other drivers. You know, your average boy racer will just go tanking up to a junction or a roundabout or something and then stand on the brakes and change down 2 or 3 gears at once, which I don't do that. I'm much more, not so much Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen, more Alain Prost stroke Jenson Button, Jackie Stewart style, or even Sterling Moss. They all have the driving style a bit like that, and that's the way I am, very mechanically sympathetic. And you can tell. Anyway, more on that in the next episode, because I'm going to talk about wear and tear and things like that. There isn't any on this car, and that in itself can cause other problems. Money problems. But I'll talk more about that. I think you find it quite interesting to hear about the running costs and the servicing costs. Go into that in a bit more detail. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off by showing you the vehicle again one last time. Whoopsie daisies, we don't see that. We're going to have one final look at the car. And there we go. So now you've seen my great secret. The secret is out. Excuse me, I need another cup of tea. By the way, there was a little joke, an in-joke at the beginning of this video, which I didn't share with you. I'm going to share it now. This has appeared on the channel before, but none of you have ever spotted, because you wouldn't know, none of you have ever spotted that I usually show it this way, but if you turn it this way, it was there all the time. Yeah, my great secret was hiding in plain sight. So there we go. I hope you found it interesting anyway. We'll talk some more about it, and those of you that are interested in understanding what these cars are like to drive and what they're like to run, which is the important thing, I think, and how to actually make it kind of affordable and sensible over a long period of time, which is what I've done. I think you'll find that quite eye-opening. So until next time, thank you very much for joining me. Take care, stay well, stay safe. Thanks a lot. And until next time with part 2, thanks a lot and bye for now.